Hi there, this is Eshu. I'm the abbot here at Zenwest Buddhist Society. This Living Zen-podcast is just one of the many resources we've created at Zenwest to make Zen practice and training more available and accessible to people all over the world. Instructional videos, printable resources, and much, much more are also available on our website at www.zenwest.ca. If you're a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop me an email at office@zenwest.ca and let me know who you are, how you got started, and what brought you to Zen. Everything we make available in person and online at Zenwest is only possible because of the support of our members and associates, people like you. If the efforts of our community are making a difference in your life, I'd like to invite you to show your support and take part in making it happen by becoming an associate or member of the Zenwest Sangha. You can do this by clicking the Join Us tab on our website at www.zenwest.ca. Thank you for your support, and thanks for listening.
We come here together every week to take up this upright, relaxed posture and see what happens. I think it's important, at least in my practice, I found it very useful to cultivate an attitude of not knowing what's going to come up at any given time, not having so much of an agenda as being open to a sort of a natural curiosity. And in my experience, all sorts of things come up when I settle down. And I interpret them as, in some sense, needing to come up. So I just allow them some space and watch what happens. Not so long ago, I was sitting in Zazen, minding my own business, you might say, and I have a vivid memory of a time earlier in my life. It was a summertime, and I found myself in California for a few weeks. I had some things to do there, and did a little holidaying around San Francisco. Paid my respects to the Haight-Ashbury district, and was duly propositioned by some Moonies, invited onto their bus, and back to their farm for the weekend. I've often wondered how my life might have turned out if I had accepted their kind invitation. But it turns out I had to get back to Victoria and didn't have the time to do that. So I had to come back to Victoria, and at that time in my life, my default means of transport for distances of that order was hitchhiking. But this time I thought, I don't want to hitchhike. Maybe I could jump on a freight train. Now that would be fun. I'd never done that before, but I understood it was a possibility. So I made some inquiries, and sure enough, there was a daily northbound freight. And someone said, yes, it's very easy. There's a really good place in Davis, the city of Davis. There's a public park there, and the train tracks make a sweeping 90-degree turn around the outside of this park. And of course, the train has to necessarily slow down for this corner. So it presents a wonderful place to get on the train. Well, I didn't know what was involved, so I got some instruction, and I found out, there was nothing to it, really. You just position yourself at the side of the track, and when you see the train coming, you start running in the same direction the train's going, and you allow the train to overtake you. And as it's coming up, you select your boxcar with the open door, the one you want. When it comes up alongside you, you throw your kit bag or whatever you have with you into the boxcar. You grab the handle, which is conveniently located for the door. You turn to the rear, towards the rear of the train, and sort of swing yourself up into the open, through the open door onto the boxcar. Nothing to it. So I thought, that sounds like fun. I can do that. This wasn't yesterday, you understand. So I hitchhiked to Davis, found the park, managed to appear very natural for a couple of hours while I waited for the train to arrive. There were some state troopers cruising around, I thought very suspiciously. But I kept a low profile, and in the end, they didn't give me too much trouble. And at the appointed time, sure enough, here comes the northbound freight, chug, 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 and it slows down for the corner, just as it was supposed to. And I started running. Turns out even these trains, when they're going very slowly, are moving along at quite a clip. But, here I am. I chose my boxcar. It looked like a nice car. Here it comes. Threw my kit bag into the car, and I'm in for it now. Grabbed the handle, didn't have time to turn to the back of the train, got swept off my feet, and somehow I ended up inside the car. How wonderful. Just sitting in this car. Initially I had it all to myself, watching the miles roll by. Didn't know really in detail where it was heading, but it was going north, and that's where I wanted to go. There were some surprises, some unexpected aspects of the trip. Right off, I noticed that the interior environment was very noisy. Clang, clang, bang, bang, rattle, rattle. Making my noise all day, I guess. So if you ever undertake such a journey, I suggest you take some earplugs. Or, as I managed, have a few scraps of cardboard that you can chew up into suitable wads and use them. Another thing I hadn't anticipated was the whole community of people who travel this way. They were uniformly kind and helpful. And that extended to the train driver who of course knew that people were jumping on and off the train and accommodated this by, in particular, slowing down rather more than he had to, or it might have been a she, I don't know, before entering a large urban rail yard, which everyone knew was replete with railroad detectives who took a dim view of unauthorized passengers. So this whole community was there. Well, a fond memory indeed. And it struck me more than once since then that a freight train is not a bad analogy for Zen practice. It lumbers along inexorably. Once it gets going, it keeps on going. The driver of the Zenwest train, Eshu Osho, through his compassion and kindness, slows this train down every Tuesday evening as it passes through the University of Victoria campus here. It's ready-made for folks who want to jump on. Just jumping on straight up is, or can be, quite abrupt. So, we provide every opportunity for folks to get up to speed first, to learn the form, get a sense of what's going on. See who else is on this train. Often, there's a critical juncture between not being on the train and actually taking the leap up onto the train. There's a passage of throwing your lot in, of committing. Commitment is one of the core values of our Sangha group here. And often this commitment is a sticking point. However, certainly my experience and watching many other people is that being on this train is very different from walking along the tracks, wishing I were on it, or waving at it as it goes past. Of course, if you're going east, a northbound train is not much use. But if this train is headed the way you want to head in your life, there's a lot to be said for throwing in your lot and getting on board. And even once you may think you're grossly on board, certainly my experience is there's a call for a recommitment every moment, really. And I often ask myself, am I really engaged here, or am I going through the motions? I don't know where the train is going, but I do know that it's heading in the right direction, the direction that makes the most sense to me at this time in my life, and has for many years. So I think when you hear the Jiki-Jitsu ring that big brass bell, you might just think of it as an invitation, a call all aboard. Time to get on or get back on, to commit anew, to take up the gift that is so generously laid before us all, that makes it so much easier to travel the way we want to than having to invent it all ourselves. Certainly there's no lack of surprises that we'll encounter on the trip. But certainly, from my experience anyway, the folks we'll meet along the way are the finest companions that I've ever encountered. And it's as easy as taking up the posture, opening ourselves to we don't know what, making use of the breath and other techniques, opening ourselves to the limitless potential that is there, just waiting for us. It's wonderful to be here again, to sit with you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen-podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.